Hey everyone, it's Rane One Mark II launch day, and I wanted to do a top 10 video before I wrapped up for the day. And this is similar to something I did when I helped launch the Rane Performer. Full disclosure, I work for Rane. I work for In Music as a DJ brand senior marketing manager. And I'm also on the beta team for this gear, so it's really fun that I get to get my hands on this gear prior to release, help test it, but then in the process I get really familiar with the gear. So I have my own opinions, and I made a list of my top 10 features for the Rane One Mark II. This is may not be your top 10, but it may be your top 10 if you're like me, but most likely you have your own features that you like and that you desire in a unit. This is my favorite when it comes to the new Rane One Mark II. So let's get into it. All right, here she is. So, okay, got my list here. You can see I did some scribbles. That means I changed my mind on my particular order. And my number one may surprise you, or it might not. All right, so let's kick it off with feature number 10 that I really like. Ooh, we're gonna start off with a spicy one because some DJs might not like this, but I like this dry wet knob for the effects in the mixer section. Now some DJs say, oh, you never put anything in the mixer section because it gets in the way. Well, it's possible, but there's still plenty of room here to access the faders, even if you're doing some of the like fader drumming thing. You can still get in there, so I don't care about that. But why I like it here is because for a lot of effects, this can function as a volume knob. It can function as like I like to use hold echo a lot, and I like to be able to quickly dial that in for the full hold echo, so it grabs the, it has a longer die out time, if you will, so it has like a live loop capability. But if you're doing any of the effects like a stutter out or something like that, I think I have pulled up here. We'll just do that real quick. I'll show you what I'm talking about. All right, I'm gonna select stutter out from the menu. Okay, so when it's at 12 o'clock, has a little bit of a different attack than if I turned it all the way up. Shorter attack. But I like having that dry wet knob in the mixer section, so it's by where I'm typically adjusting the volume and doing all the mixing. So to me, it makes a lot of sense there. Doesn't get in my way. That's my number 10. All right, moving on. We have number 9. This one's pretty easy. It's important. It's not the sexiest feature, but it's inputs and outputs. So let me just grab, I have another one over here. I mean, look at these professional inputs and outputs. So you can see over here, we have the mic inputs, and then we have 2 sets of XLR inputs. We have auxiliary input with the RCAs. We have 2 laptop inputs. And that also means, since the Rane One Mark II works with Virtual DJ and Algorithm DJ and Serato DJ, you can have multiple computer or iOS sources going into this thing and switch between them, which is really cool. The XLRs, I mean, that's incredible to have 2 sets of XLRs, for one for your booth, one for your main. And then it has inputs, line phono for turntables or CD decks or whatever, and an auxiliary input. So inputs and outputs come in at number 9 because, I mean, it's very versatile. And when I have to do these live streams and things like this, when I get to these live streams, because I enjoy them, I can usually find a way to make it work with whatever setup I need to stream or record with. So inputs and outputs, number 9. All right, number 8 in my top 10 on the One MK2 are the channel effects. Now these are really cool. Let's see if I have a better view here. We can get in a little tighter. We'll just stick with here. Let me just move them up. All right, so our channel effects. By default, these knobs are filter. So they have an on-off button, which is really cool because I can't accidentally turn it on unless it's on. So by default, it's filter. And if you have a line or phono source, it will just default to filter because these only apply to software sources when you're adding the additional channel effects. But in addition to filter, I mean, I love the filter roll. That's probably the one I would use. And you can also combine those with the various other effects. So the main effects are here. And you can turn them off and on like that. So I think the channel effects are great. On this unit, on the RANE MKII, you have 4 options. Most of them have been covered in the videos, but you have noise, flanger, filter, and filter roll. So that comes in at number 8. And those are the channel effects. So let's move on down the old yellow notepad of the top 10. Number 7 is literally close to channel effects, figuratively and literally, and those are the internal effects. And those are right here. Let's go a little closer. So I liked what we did when we released the 4 and the Performer, that we had internal effects, but we added so many options. And if you don't know, you just hold a button and you scroll with the encoder, and you can scroll through 29 different options, including the fader effects, which will turn these up faders into controls. For the parameters for various effects. So the fader effects, there's a ring modulator, there's 4 different tone generators, there's the roll, there's pitch, and there's filter. So you could even turn that on filter. Let's see, I'll put one here. Fader, filter. A lot of fun. And you may notice the volume jump, so you have to be careful with your fader effects if you use those, because when you engage one, not even engage one, when you push the button, it jumps to 100% on the volume. That's because it's turning this into control for the fader effect. So some might want to start in the middle or wherever, but so once I engage it, volume jumps. When I activate it. So the thought process, again, why we would do it like that, is that you might want to start at the bottom. So I engage it, move it down to the bottom, then and actually activate the effect. So just keep that in mind, that if you're using fader effects, when you push that button to basically pre-arm that fader effect, your volume goes to 100. Now you can also just bypass fader effects completely in the main menu. You won't even have them show up in your list of effects. But honestly, just don't, if you aren't comfortable with fader effects, just don't reassign them to an effect slot, so you won't have to worry about accidentally pushing it. So just become familiar with that user guide and you'll be all set. So that was the internal effects engine. They're awesome, and if you wanted to hook up a turntable to this, they would all work with that source. So that means you could hold echo vinyl. You could like basically live loop vinyl. You can do all kinds of different things with any source. If my voice was headed through an external input, like a line in instead, I could loop my voice or add effects to it with that internal effects engine. You can also do that on the RANE One Mark II, because we added echo and reverb. That actually didn't make my top 10, if I'm being honest, because I particularly don't use those. But if you were somebody that did use those, this is a bonus. We'll call this one 6.5. You would just engage it here. Check. So I got echo on now. And there's also reverb, which I can select by just holding this. Holding this and using the joystick. Reverb, echo. And then I can dial them in with the parameter. So I can just back my reverb off a bit. Yeah, and then I have it at a quick button press. I can add reverb, or again, set it to echo. And the echo will follow the BPM of the deck that's playing. So let me just adjust the depth so you can hear it. So now we're at, I believe it's 89 or 69. I can't see, I don't have my glasses. So anyway, that's echo. And for the mic, again, didn't quite make my list, but we're gonna call that one, what did I say? 6.5. So on to number 6 on my top 10 on the Rane One Mark II. I love these acapella instrumental buttons. These dedicated buttons right here. And what I love about them is that I don't have to occupy a stem mode or a pad mode with stems. I don't have to occupy these secondary buttons with stems. I can leave them open for whatever. Like I can just have a save loop down here for my sampler and have my hot cues up here. And then I have access to acapellas and instrumentals right here. And that's a little bit of a caveat. So my favorite thing why I'm ranking at number 6, I love these buttons, but what I love more about them is that I could set them inside the main menu. Hold shift, press the hardware software effects button, that's how you get to the main menu. I can set them in the main menu to automatically add that echo out by just adjusting this acapella instrumental effects option. You know, by default it's shift. So I have to hold shift to add the echo out. But when I change that to primary, then it does the echo out automatically without me holding shift. So then I would just set it and forget it on this. All right, that's coming in hot at number 6. Those are the dedicated instrumental and acapella buttons. All right, now we're rounding it into the top 5. My top 5 on the Rane One Mark II. This one I actually I kind of changed my order around because I had them. You know, I was still pretty set on number 1, but then when I like 2, 3, 4, and 5, I kind of switched the order, all based on my personal opinion of how I would use them and my style of DJing. So number 5 is the external sampler knob. Now that is located on the front here. And what's nice about that is now, let me split pad mode. I don't mention that in my top 10, but you can do that by holding one mode and then tapping the other one. So now sampler's on bottom. Now I can fade them in and out because I have this knob here. That's really handy because before on the original Rane one, you had to hold shift and use this encoder to do the sampler volume. And you know, I brought it up on a live stream I was doing with AGI Pro DJ. It makes it easier to do what I like to call a little like 3-deck mixing on a 2-deck device. All you need is your sampler slot inside Serato, and you need to have your Serato set to instant double. So here, I'm going to show you guys what that looks like. Let me go to a Serato screen. All right, let me just pop over here. So we're going to want to make sure, first of all, you want to make sure your instant doubles are checked right here. Okay. And then so I have 2 tracks loaded, but I want to, let's say, offload the currently playing track and then load up 2 more tracks. So I have my sampler volume down, and all I have to do is drag it to a sampler slot. And not, see it's playing there? So now it's instant doubled. So if I go back, let's see here. All right, so it's still here, right? But it's also instant double to the sampler. So as I bring the volume up, you're gonna hear it kind of phase. Now I'm completely playing that track in the sampler. So then I could just roll through and select a different track. And then just cut the volume of the sampler. We'll loop that one a little bit. Yeah, so that's a really cool use for that. And that's why I put it at number 5. I like the ability to do that because sometimes when I DJ, I don't really need 4 decks. I like having stem split on the Rane 4 and the Rane Performer, but I really only need 3 decks. That's why when the original SL boxes were out, I had the original SL1, for Serato. And then when the SL3 and SL4 came out, I was like, well, I don't need the SL4, I'll take the SL3. And I would do that same trick with the SL3, but I would do it a little differently because I had the Rane 56, and I would route that third deck into the auxiliary input. So it's a similar kind of thing where I would just drag over something to that third slot, instant double it, and then that would free up my 2 decks that I could use actual channel faders for. So similar concept, and so that's why I think having the ability to do that and open up a third deck is really what most Rane type DJs actually need. I actually always really wanted that Rane Empath mixer with the 3 channels. I thought that would be perfect to go with my SL3, but never happened. But all right, so that was the external sampler volume knob at number 5. Now we're coming in on our top 4. Number 4 is the stem roll effects. So on the Rane One Mark II, there are 2 new stem modes. We have stem roll effects, which are right here, and also just stem effects. And so what stem effects is, you can just pick which stem element you want to assign the various effects to. So the effects on the bottom, there's echo here, this is a rollout, this is a breaker, and this is a delay. But you can just assign pick your elements. So we'll do bass and drums. So those are cool. I mean, I'd probably use those, but I didn't put that in my top 10 because most of the time I would just do this stuff up here, to be honest. So, but I would use stem roll. So stem roll is here. And what's really cool about this is that it just can momentary or latch on a roll to your element. So if I just want to do drums here, I can just roll those like that. And why I like that is I can add that to my secondary pad buttons up here. I'm just going to hold mode and double press the second one. So now I have those up here. And I can have my hot cues down here. And I hold shift and say I always want to do my, kind of melody and acapella. I can have it up there.
There's a knees up in my reminiscing when I could have missed and I was missing.
And I also think it's cool, the stem roll mode, I can latch it on and almost treat it like, I don't know, almost like a sampler. Like I love live looping and things like that. So I hold shift, let me just pick drums and bass. And I can actually stop this deck. And if I were to play anything on the cue points, like since that's looping, I can just go into acapella. And now this is going to be acapella only. I don't even know if I have any. And that is a stem roll, which I think is really cool. And you can do all kinds of weird things with that. But the most utilitarian way to DJ with it is just DJ. And gives you a quick vocal row. Actually, I have to select the vocal to do that. But yeah. So it's quick access there in the corner. And so that's why I like, if I had to pick between the new stem modes, the stem roll and stem effects, I would pick stem roll. I like that one better. And that leads me into number 3. Stem roll effects was number 4. So we're going into number 3 on my top 10 on the One Mark II. And that's the Crossfader cut-in. I'm a kind of a simple guy. I like a good crossfader and good up faders and good platters, and the rest is all bonus for me. I would be perfectly happy pulling up somewhere to DJ, actually anywhere. If I get a DJ somewhere, it's truly a blessing. I love it. But if it just had 2 channels, a good crossfader, and 2, good decks, I'm happy. I'll mix all night. But what I like about this on the Rane One II, as on being part of the beta team, I'm on the beta team for a lot of products across all the DJ brands in music. I'm really a stickler on the crossfader cut-in. So I'm the kind of guy that I'll pull in the waveform of the crossfader cut-in audio, like I'll be editing something, and in Premiere I'll be zooming in on the waveform, and I'll see, oh man, those waveforms could be sharper. Like I'll take a screenshot and I'll do a comparison to other waveforms, and then say, hey, we need to make these sharper. They need to be cliffs, And so that's what I like about this crossfader is the algorithm for all these faders was updated. So now if you were to do, say, let's just pull up a tone here. If you were to pull up this tone, like if you were just a crab, if you were to do that and record the audio and pull it into Premiere somewhere where you can zoom in, you would see that it's really tight, like cliffs. And I like that. And to take it one step further, inside the main menu, Shift, Hardware, Software, Effects button, you go into the menu, and then you can customize the cut-in of the left and the right of the crossfader. So you can make it super, super sharp as far as the cut-in distance. But the curve knob on the front set all the way to sharp, and this set to its sharpest setting. It is razor sharp, and I love it because it should be sharp because that's what it's made for. So that's why I put the crossfader in at number 3, and it's a Mag 4 crossfader, and I really like the other Rane crossfaders. Like I got this 61 over here. Really like that fader and that too. A couple things though, it would always break. That now has an fader in it because my old stems would break a lot, and I had to lube it all the time because it would collect dust. The Mag 4s with the new improvements, I really enjoy them. I think that I would love to see some other modifications to the fader, and I'm talking with the team on that, and maybe we'll be able to work something out, make it even better. But as of right now, it's really sharp. It's like the sharpest crossfader on any Rane that I've ever had my hands on. So I love it, and that's why it's at number 3. So moving on to number 2, what are they going to be? Are they going to be obvious? Well, this one might be obvious because my number 2 are these secondary buttons right here. They're just really handy, like I was showing you over here with the quick access to that stem mode for roll. But it's also really handy. Like I like to put my hot cues up here sometimes if I'm messing around with something down here, like if I need a save loop here or stems or whatever else. I like just to have access to those hot cues to either always pull up the one, or like when I'm doing a demo and I need to go to a certain spot, I can just access those really quickly. It reminds me a lot of the old days of the dicers, just having like the buttons really handy in different areas, and that's why I really like those. And what I really like to see up here right now that I like is beat jumps here. So just have to double tap that one. Now I have my beat jump right here, and I can leave that up there and put hot cues down here, split them to hot cues and stems or whatever. And I just have access to everything really easily. And that's why those secondary pad mode buttons are my number 2. All right, my number 1. If you can guess it, put it in the comments below. And, I'll tell you if you're right. Well, you'll know you're right when I tell you what it is. Place your bets. I'm a simple guy, simple kind of DJ. My number 1 on the Rane One II is, nope. Colder, warmer, on fire. Up faders. I love the up faders because they are the precision fill faders that I also loved when they came to the Performer. So they're dual rail, like the Mag 4. so they're really smooth and they're light, but they have a magnet you can adjust, but they're not a Mag 4 because they use a side mounted carrier. So like picture like the rails, you know, they're vertical, and then you get the carrier that slides upon them, but then it has a stem that sticks out and it goes into like the actual fader that is mounted on a circuit board like this. So this is like how it functions. And what I like about that, it feels like a Rane fader should. They're really light. And to me, it's number one for me because if there's one thing when I'm DJing that I touch more than anything else on all of it, it's the crossfader and up faders. Because when I DJ and I mix out, I pull the fader down. So, you know, just out of habit. And so I'm always touching them. And I like the ability, you know, they're light. You can just do like one hand on the fader, one hand on the up fader, one hand on the crossfader. And to me, that's like the first thing I touch on a piece of gear. And that's why the original Rane 1 came out. I've been at In Music in this role for the DJ brands for, it'll be 5 years in October. So that means when I first started, Jay, shout out to Jay Cunningham, he was on the marketing team and he was in charge of releasing the Rane 1. And I got a sample unit and I was ecstatic to get a sample unit because it was like a dream come true. Like I get DJ gear just sent to me. That was amazing. But that's the first thing I noticed. And I sent an email to the product team and I'm sure they were really annoyed that the new guy was sending him emails. But I said, yeah, that's awesome. I love it. It's so cool. But the up faders, can we switch them out? And I was like, no, we can't do that right now. And they were fine and they worked, but they just weren't to my liking. I thought they should be looser. And that's what's different about this. And I wasn't the only one that had that feedback. And so that's why the product team, you know, they iterated on the original Rane 1, which was awesome, and just made those improvements that people were suggesting. So that's why those up faders are the number one feature. It's simple, but it's something that if it's not working or it's not good, you're going to not have as good a time DJing. And if it's not durable, you're definitely not going to have a good time DJing because then you're writing your gain knob when your crossfader or your up faders are cutting in and out. So it's awesome to see that the precision field faders came to the Rane 1 Mark II. And because they came to the Rane 1 Mark II, you also have access to those fader effects because the Rane 4 didn't have precision field faders. And so the Rane 4 did not get fader effects. The Performer came out with precision field faders, and also the fader effects were imported from the A-Track 70 mixer because the up faders were of the caliber that could handle those fader effects. And so that's why when we brought the precision field faders to the Rane 1 Mark II, we could also bring the fader effects. So all that to say, I love the up faders, and I think you will too if you're kind of an old school Rane DJ that likes the lighter feel. Or if you're not, you can dial in the tension with the magnet by taking off the faceplate and adjusting. There's a video on the Rane's channel where I show you how to do just that, but now you have options. Before, it was just one tension and that was it on the original Rane 1. Now you can adjust it to your liking. So that's it. My top 10 of the Rane 1 Mark II. It's a great controller. It's good to see the excitement out there in the community about it. It's $14.99. It's the same price as the original Rane 1 when it was released 5 years ago. So yeah, what's your favorite feature? Leave it in the comments below. All right, peace. Oh, hang on. I got an echo for that. Peace.